Director Roundtable, and we're going to just go around with the directors, and Dale's with us to talk about. So you can take it away.
Well, thank you for having me this evening. The main thing to talk about is Fairhope Recycle has been through a lot of changes in a short period of time. Some of the issues were within our own city, and some of them are international. And I'd just like to highlight some of the key points here. I'll try and make it brief. And the good news is we're in a great spot right now. We've got a great vendor. We've got great new vehicles. We've got really good plans for the future. And I think when you walk through this presentation pretty quickly, you'll kind of see that where we started was a little bit ugly, and where we're finishing up now is really strong. So improvement is always a good thing. Yes. The main thing is the very first page. You look at your garbage tonnage, kind of gives us an indication of where we're going. I think the quick version is you can see from 2015 to 2018, it's about a 16% increase in just raw tonnage coming in. That's tonnage that our guys have to pick up, process through the transfer station, haul to Magnolia, and we have to pay quite a bit. I think when I first started about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we were paying $19,000 to $20,000 per month in tipping fees. And when you go do the math now, we're paying about $24,000 a month in tipping fees. A lot of people don't realize that. And of course, with every garbage ton, they say about 50 to 60% is recyclable. So you can look at what we're paying against what we're bringing out to Magnolia Springs to what we could be saving, right, even just in tipping fees. That's kind of the main economic theme through this. So just not throwing it away saves us more money than pretty much anything else we can do. The next page just kind of, everybody's always asking me, what do you recycle? What's your quantities of recycle? So the big thing is this year we had about 1,834 tons of recycling material brought in through the city. And you can see mostly it's paper and cardboard, which is easily recyclable. And then we've got plastics. We had about over 300 tons. 192 tons of glass, and then scrap metal is one of our big features. Mostly old appliances, bicycle frames, all these endless items from the home that people need to get rid of, we've able to convert. That's actually our #1 profit contributor over the last couple of years. Let me catch up with that there. And that just gives you a little, I'll take the batteries out. That just gives you a quick snapshot of what we're bringing in and what the tonnages are. The big thing is you always want to benchmark yourself against the state goals. And in 1991, the federal government got with the states, and they came up with a 25% recycle diversion goal for all the states. The state of Alabama, 2018, averaging about 16%. So that's not bad, considering they don't have a lot of direct recycle programs. Most of the municipalities in the state of Alabama are drop-off only. Only some of the better cities like Fairhope, of course, have the curbside pickup. And as you can see, our participation rate is about 31%. And if you take the total tons of garbage against total tons recycled, we're about 19% of the diversion rate. So we're above the state goals, but you know, half of what we're putting in the landfill is probably recycling, so we could probably move quite a bit up on that. Looking at other municipal programs, Baldwin County, they don't have a recycle program other than drop-off. Daphne, Foley, Gulf Shores, they're doing a curbside single stream. Then we just found out Pensacola and Escambia County have now partnered back up again. They're doing a curbside single stream. So this kind of lets you know around the whole regional area who's doing what.
Hey, Dale, what does single stream mean?
That's when you basically put everything into one can. Okay. We're getting a lot of pressure and a lot of demand from new residents moving in. Why do I have to separate in these different bins? Why don't I have a blue can? Because that's what they're used to where they moved from. And we're looking at that. The key thing there is that we're requiring them to separate it into bins because we're not sure that our vendor on the back end is going to be around for a while. If that vendor fails, and you'll see here in this next couple of slides, what happens is we have nowhere to bring it. We have to do all the sorting and separation ourselves, which is hours and hours of labor every day.
But isn't it just two? Is it just two bins for separation?
Right now, we're just requiring 2 bins, yes, ma'am.
So
just
it's not a lot of
one
work.
for fiber, one for plastic and cans, whatever you might have. And you can put out as many bins as you want. I've got some people put out 7 bins every week. A lot of people are trying to use cans. Yeah, it's Gary Gover, if you know Gary Gover. He's an excellent.
Of course.
He's if you want to talk about recycling, Gary Gover is the man.
And he's on our recycling committee.
And this chart here kind of shows you what happened with the market. Everything was sailing along in about 2016. Then China decided they were not going to accept all of these mixed recycle streams. basically what happened was recycling gets contaminated with garbage. It requires a tremendous level of involvement by the vendors to separate it, separate out the garbage, and then resort all the recyclable materials. And so it was not economically feasible. So they basically said unless it was clean, separated recycled materials, they weren't going to handle it anymore. And each of these red dots here, just kind of, the United States alone had 639,000 metric tons of single stream recycle that were sending over in these containers. So when they shut the door, all of that didn't have anywhere to go.
I think it's ironic that it says China's had enough of your plastic when most of the plastic comes from China.
It's
To
very
begin with.
interesting. They don't mind selling it, but they don't want it back. And what happened was, in 2016, when they shut the gates, the commodity market collapsed. And basically, most of the recycled materials lost their value. So if you just look real quick, cardboard was at $120 a ton, which we bale and sell. It went down to $45. Wow. Mixed paper was our biggest profit contributor. It went to -$5. I've got to pay someone $5 a ton to take my mixed paper now because it doesn't have a value on the market. Mixed plastics, same thing, went down to -2. Scrap metals is pretty steady. And again, that's our lead profit contributor for recycling. Our new vendor, at the end of 2016, they're retooling with their new equipment. They were paying up to $15 a ton for mixed recycle. And right now they're charging $2 a ton because the market's just not there. They can't quite operate without having that fee. And Baldwin County, just to show you at the very bottom, solid waste landfill, it's $30 a ton to get rid of anything. If you just want to bury it as garbage, it's going to cost you $30 a ton. So minus $2, we don't want to pay it, but we're still saving $28 a ton by not landfilling a lot of these recycled items. And the next page up, what happened was it had a collapse of our vendors. All the guys we used to go to for help in recycling and advice and information, they were the ones buying our plastics. They went out of business. So the city of Montgomery had a commercial MRF that they had running for about 4 years up there. They closed down in 2016. Seymour and Associates, our big plastic vendor in Mobile, closed down. Tarp and Paper was the big one regionally for both us, Daphne, the city of Pensacola, and even Waste Management. They closed their doors, and they basically are not in business anymore. And basically, a lot of these small cities and private haulers have resorted to landfilling a lot of these recycled materials. Even right now, today, they're just putting them in the landfill. That's across the whole United States. It's just expensive and inefficient to process this kind of stuff by hand. So we need to find some alternatives, and luckily, just right at this time, ECUA popped up on the next slide sheet. ECUA is basically the utility authority over there in Escambia County. They operate the garbage services for Escambia, Santa Rosa. They also offer recycle services. They basically put $10.5 million investment into an automated facility. And that facility alone processes over 40,000 tons of mixed recycling. So it was basically a lifesaver for us. We heard about them, but they shut down for a year to refurbish and retool. And basically when they opened up in September, you can see this next slide. It's kind of hard to make that sense of that. It's like a big Willy Wonka factory in there and a big airplane hangar. And those little places with the windows are where people work inside sorting out. And that place is, it's over 3 football fields in length and 1.5 football fields in width. And it runs basically 10 to 12 hours a day, every day, 6 days a week, just processing all these materials. And it's kind of interesting. You flip the next slide, no matter how automated you get, you still need people involved. And here's a room, that first little room with the little windows. You've got 8 guys in there. And as the conveyor belt is fed by the loader and a rotating drum, they basically pull out different materials like plastic bags, clothing, insulation, things that can't be easily recycled or could gum up the works. They're basically just there to screen that out and pull it out. They're really good, and you can't see it, but that belt is moving so fast you can barely see it. And the guy is talking, he's looking sideways. He's pulling stuff off. They're that good. They really are. And the next slide just shows a shaking line. It's really neat that based on the weight and the size of the material, that whole line just shakes, and everything kind of bumps and moves up. Then when the material gets to it, it'll tip down, it'll drop down to the conveyor belts below it. So you've got 3 conveyor belts below here, and it's constantly shipping the different heavier plastics, the lighter plastics, the mixed paper, the cardboard. It's all falling through there and getting shipped to different areas there and processed. So it's quite a fantastic facility. It's sort of a cooperative model where they have an average commodity value that they set every quarter, and we can either receive income or we can pay a little bit of income. So the highest they paid, I think, was $25 a ton, and then the lowest right now is -2. So we're at the low level now. So we're hoping the market will come back a little bit. But regardless, it's still cheaper than putting in the landfill. Remember,
I think
that
that's
would be
important to
$30 a
know,
ton.
is that, that these are not big figures to talk about. The biggest savings
ma'am.
is our environment
Yep,
and
that's it.
our landfill. And I think that it's worth that investment regardless if we end up having a little bit of an expense. So this
And
is
it's a lot
very
cheaper.
thorough.
Yep,
Yes.
it's very cheap compared to our labor. The challenges we're facing is that ECUA is actually 90-mile round trip. So thank goodness we got those new recycle trucks. They're excellent. They're running really strong. We've had them for almost a year now in December, and they've been a lifesaver for us. They can actually make the journey there and back daily with no problem.
How many trucks do we send it in?
Well, we've got 2 trucks now that are new. We've got 2 older trucks we're getting ready to shut down, and we're getting ready to order. Hopefully, we get the budget approved this week. We'll order 1 more truck. So our model is built on 3. 2 are doing fine, but they're working a little bit longer than we want. And they're running over there usually 4 days a week and dumping out their load. Richard has agreed to let us look. We have in the budget the refurbishing our 18-wheel garbage trailer, which is the walk-in floor trailer. You put materials in that it empties out the back. We can use that for recycling once we get that refurbished, so our trucks won't have to run down there anymore. So that's one thing we're looking at that'll be really efficient. You look at other cities, what are they doing to help more people recycle? 31% is good, but it's certainly not great. Other cities have 70, 80%. You talk about loyalty programs, incentive, maybe give someone a discounted sanitation fee. They've got points programs. There's lots of different programs we can look at that we could bring into the city and just see which one would be good for people who currently aren't recycling. The people that do recycle, they love it. They will always recycle. Other people want to recycle, but, oh, it's a pain. I don't want to separate. So we've got to cross that gap to get the other groups to start participating. Logistics efficiencies. We're looking at garbage routes, twice a week or once a week. It's a big question that keeps coming up. When you have twice a week, the incentive to recycle is not as high as when you have once a week.
Really?
So if you only had one pickup a week on garbage, you really under a lot of pressure. Oh, I better put that cardboard in the recycle bin, not in the garbage bin. So it really does help drive up your recycle rates quite a bit.
Definitely see that.
Single screen options, if we gave everyone a blue can, I guarantee you the rates would go way up, 60, 70%. This is what the residents are asking for until the vendor shuts down. When the vendor shuts down, then guess what? All those blue cans still need to be picked up, and all that material needs to be brought somewhere. And behind my glass bin in the public works yard is where most of it would go. It would just be a big soggy mess for many months. And then they've got zero waste initiatives that you've probably heard of where you have no garbage. And municipalities, San Francisco, they're looking at that. They mandate that by law. And so my sister lives in Astoria, Oregon. I like to tell this story. She gets 1 garbage can picked up once every 2 weeks. She gets recycled picked up twice a week, and she gets organics picked up once a week. And they're basically saying, we don't want your garbage. We want organics, and we want recycling. And that's 80, 90% of what goes in the garbage can anyway. And the other 20%, you can hang on to that, and once every 2 weeks. The fellow for the EPA came out 3 years ago and said that in 20, 25 years, there will be no landfills. So that's a big statement. I don't know where the technology is for that, but that's what they're planning on. So, you've got energy to waste. You can burn it and create electricity. You've got different chemical solutions where you can actually turn a lot of that into energy pellets, like coal pellets. And you've got just different programs. So those things are coming online. And then the biggest thing that helped us, our 2 new recycle trucks, is what made all this possible. Hopefully we'll get a third one approved in the new budget. We're looking forward to that. Also, Mayor, you helped us. Remember we converted from 4 days a week to 5 days a week.
That was y'all's
It was
planning.
very difficult to get through that barrier, but once we did, the efficiencies are tremendous. Our guys were working 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. And remember, even driving around
Amazing.
landscape trailers. Now they're working maybe 6 to 8 hours on the route,
Right.
and we're finishing 7.5 hours a day now. Unbelievable.
Fantastic.
Just with those changes.
That's great.
So it's been a real success for us. And then just moving forward, we've got in the budget, we have bins, just like these blue bins here. We're going to give people some bins. When people come to the city, we'll be able to give them a garbage can and a couple of bins. And moving forward, do we want to, I think ECUA, we had a great visit. Richard came out with us and visited. We talked with the director over there, and he said definitely they're a long-term organization, that they're looking forward to being there for years and years. And so if we can establish confidence in that, we could talk about a single stream model that we can be comfortable with and assure everyone
be
good, steady
amazing.
service. So this year is a test year. We'll know this time next year where that's going. We'll sign another contract for another couple of years, and we'll be able to talk about maybe we can put something like this in the budget and get everybody going. I think that would
That's
be an exciting
fantastic.
thing. Yep. So it's all good news,
Definitely
and
a great goal.
appreciate your patience with us.
Thank you. This is great. Really, really appreciate it.
Dale, is there potential to coordinate with the other municipalities near us, like in the
Yes.
county or even Escambia?
That's a good, Baldwin County Solid Waste came to us 2 years ago and wanted to form a small cooperative for plastics and mixed recycled materials. We turned them down at the time because we just weren't ready for that yet. But they're looking at it now. And they're one of the ones exploring the energy pellet, where you take garbage and recycling, and they compress them under pressure with some coal dust, and it forms like briquettes that they use to fund gas generators. And they're looking at that now. So they're looking at ideas, and now would be a good time to talk to them in the next year or so.
So it'd be good to connect with, the Eastern Shore Chamber has been talking to the member municipalities about that too.
Mhm.
So
That's fantastic.
maybe connect you with
That would be great.
Casey
Yep.
over there.
And anything we can do, we can run some loads to ECUA. If we had a cooperative, we wouldn't have to go quite that far. So there's a lot of options available depending on what they're willing to fund, you know.
I think one of our planners has got a license to drive one of those trucks, right?
That's right. Buford.
Doesn't
Buford
Beaufort?
King, yeah, Buford King used to work for
He's
Baldwin
excellent.
County Solid Waste. That was his former career with them, and he's a certified landfill operator, I guess.
Yeah,
too.
he's the MOLO. He's fully
Yeah.
certified, fully accredited.
And I know when Buford was there, that was during the peak of the boom, and they were talking all different kind of ways of landfill to kind of create more space and make the garbage much more usable.
What doesn't Buford do?
It's a man of many talents.
Dale, what do you recommend for people that have old paint cans or old appliances?
Oh, okay. So the city of Fairhope, we offer all of that for residents. We'll take paint cans, appliances, scrap metal. Everything's free to bring in as long as you're a resident. And we have a chemical company that takes 55-gallon drums of mixed latex and oil-based paints, and they incinerate it. And it's a safe environmental process to get rid of stuff like that.
And so they bring that straight to Public Works, or do they pick that up on the side?
Right to Public Works, can be turned in. We're open 6 days a week, and we allow up like 15 gallons.
But don't leave it curbside.
Please don't leave it curbside. We have a lot of colorful curbs in town. When they break those cans open, they spill everywhere. So we just picked one up last week at Honey Baked
I
Ham.
wondered why those curves were different colors
It looks
sometimes.
good. It's like a Mardi Gras theme. But we offer a lot of good services that people aren't aware of, so it's excellent.
And Mayor, I officially said I wasn't going to say anything in the spare time, but I do want to thank Dale, and as you can see, as we've had the various supervisors and other folks involved in the city, that they have a passion for what they do. And
Absolutely.
it shows, and Dale has a passion for sanitation and all the components of it, and he's a pleasure to work with, and he's always thinking about what's next, what's the future, how do we do better, how we proceed, and I thank Dale for his service and his
Thank you.
time to come share what he's passionate about with us.
Well,
And
we
now I'll
appreciate
hush.
it.
I have nothing to say.
I'll be brief as well. In planning, we've been busy, obviously, with planning commissions and full agendas. Also, we had our visual preference survey, which I think Shirley will talk more about in a few minutes, but that's a very important step in creating a vision for Fairhope. So I'll let her elaborate on that. Other than that, nothing else to add.
Thank you.
Our Pirates lost Friday night, so the football season is unfortunately over. But they played a good game up there in Auburn. But with that being said, we've had our last swim meet for the year, so things will slow down there. Our last softball tournament was Saturday. It's been a long season with that. Youth baseball's wrapped up, youth softball's wrapped up, soccer, the rec league is wrapped up. We'll still go through December 1st on that. And I've also got one more soccer tournament, the Baldwin County All-Star, the Baldwin Cup they call it, will be here this coming weekend, weather permitting Saturday. So things are slowing down, and it's usually our dead time. We get December, where we've only got one organized sport, and that's basketball. So things are slowing down, and in January it all fires back up again.
Yeah, we'll get a tiny reprieve.
Yeah.
I want to mention that
Full
our first annual city golf tournament was Friday, and great success. Its intent is going to be to just enhance the quality of service for our visitors and citizens, and that money will be used to do just that. So it was a good success, and I look forward to that annual event because I think it has potential of raising a lot of money, but more than anything, it builds camaraderie, and it's a fun event. So.
Yep,
Yeah.
those who participated had a good time despite the weather. And I want to brag. Can I brag? on it?
Absolutely.
Yes. I outdrove our pro twice, and I outdrove Richard once. And I haven't been on a course in a year.
That's
The comment I would
amazing.
make is the red tee, and I'm not able to take advantage of the senior tee location. I play that way, but age-wise, I can't quite get to there, but the red tees do have quite an advantage.
I can
want
say that.
really.
And fairly
that would-
so.
That would
Since I
be my
don't play,
goal.
I can say I identify with the senior, and I need to be put in that category. Sorry.
But
to
we did
interrupt.
have a good time doing that, and it was fun for me to get to meet Jeff a little bit, and I've
Yeah.
seen him at a few of the supervisors' meetings and things, but getting to get out and play with him, it was a
Such a
lot of
nice
fun.
guy.
And the course is just in great shape. I mean, I know we've
I've
talked
heard
about
lots
that
of
before, but
comments.
it is really
It's really good.
nice to play on.
Mhm.
And I'm going to take a few minutes. Tom mentioned at the supervisors meeting about introducing new employees, and we do have a new employee, and Michael Allison, who is here. And I don't know where the camera is, Michael. You've got
Why don't
what your good side is, but you.
You can take my seat for a second.
So here, Michael.
We'll let them have Dale's.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Michael has come in as the electric superintendent. He's coincidentally enough from Colorado Springs, and he came down to enjoy warmer weather. For one, he retired from Colorado Springs, and I have a brother-in-law that lives in Colorado Springs,
really?
and they had snow there this weekend, and he sent pictures of all that, so I can appreciate the desire to
This is
want
our
to
goal.
get away from that when you
This is
can.
the goal.
But Michael, if you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about where you're from and your experience.
Sure. Like Richard said, Michael Allison. I was with Colorado Springs Utilities for 30 years. Started out in the gas department as a laborer, basically, digging ditches. Had the opportunity to go to college at night. Took advantage of that. Got my electrical engineering degree. Moved over to the electric department about 15 years ago and been there ever since, up through the organization to where when I left, I was the supervisor of the enhanced power, what we call the enhanced power engineering group. So I did power quality. We dealt with our largest customers, all 5 military bases, customers that had loads bigger than the entire city of Fairhope,
Wow.
that kind of stuff. So it was my team that went out and worked with those customers and took care of any issues they had electrically.
Fantastic.
And Michael has hit the ground running. We've got him involved in trying to get the pole maintenance contract set up where we can evaluate the poles and the condition of them. And, we've had some people talk about 5G small cell type installations, and we really want to try to get a handle on exactly how we can manage all of that. I know the mayor's concerned about, all the different utilities that can
'Cause that's the future. and
clutter
everybody's
the right-of-ways
Right.
if
gonna be
nothing
starting that.
else. And so we do want to come up with some type of model that we can use to manage those installations. And but he's been welcomed by all the departments, and Michael's doing a heck of a job, and we're
Yeah,
proud to have him.
We said this before, and we'll say it again, you have a lot of opportunity in the utility department.
Yeah, there's a lot of
And
things.
so looking forward to it.
And speaking of opportunity,
There's a
I
lot
know
of things
Terry
going on.
mentioned a little bit about the tank, and then we are making very good progress with that. And this rain's got us a little bit, on hold on the outside part, but they're doing some extra work on the inside now. We're trying to set it up where as soon as possible, which is still, late December most likely, we'll try to get the cell phone companies to relocate those antennas and get that back to where it needs to be. And of course, just, you hate the way the whole thing went down with the contractor, but it's working out well, and we're making progress. We're making other progress on our 2 transmission, wastewater transmission projects we're doing in town. I've met with both of those consultants, and we're creating some longer-term planning beyond just the scope of what these projects are, so we can look at what lift stations out in, from Greeno Road east, basically. We're looking at how we can manage those systems to keep ones that are now currently, stressed to take some of that load off, and we're looking at options to upgrade others and extend transmission systems beyond just this initial phase. So that work is ongoing, and we're making good progress with that. Gas, we're working with Spanish Ford and the Highway 31 widening. We're still working to get the regulator stations we have out there relocated to the point and brought up to a certain level of code compliance that we need to do. With gas, we're also looking at a leak survey that we'll contract out this year for the entire system. So as we start working toward our mapping and our modeling and our cast iron gas main, we'll have a little bit of a leg up on, the condition of the system from that leak survey. We're looking forward to that. And other than that, it just seems like every day there's something that comes up that's just different than what you would anticipate. But, we're dealing with those on a daily basis and trying to manage the longer-term projects as well. So we've got a good team of people, and we're all focused on what we need to be doing and making progress.
Awesome. That makes me so excited. Because it has been stressful, and I know it's been a lot the last year. But having the right people in place is going to be huge. So thank you and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
That's all I've got.
That's it?
Okay.
All right. And I've heard really good things about you from, I get to sit near the time clock, so at my desk. A lot of people stop by and say hi. Heard all good things.
Cool.
I'll talk about the visual preference survey briefly because Wayne's voice sounds like it's almost gone, which mine was almost gone Friday, so now it's your turn. It's kind of going around Public Works Building. So we had 2 public meetings last week, and now the survey is live online and available for everyone to take, and we're encouraging people to get on this link, and I'm assuming everybody can see it if you're looking at if you're watching this live. We're also going to push out an Everbridge notice to everyone that signed up, and it will be a banner on our website, and it'll stay live until November 30th. At that time, the results will be sort of tallied, and a report will come out, and we'll post that report online when it's all done, and we'll let everyone know that that's happened. And the idea is just to get feedback from, I was going to say citizens, but it does ask a question as to whether or not you live in or outside of Fairhope. So I don't know if the final report will differentiate that, but it's really about the preferences and what people would like to see in Fairhope.
And also, it takes about 15, 20 minutes. It's not long at all. We had two meetings. We invited the public to live meetings, and the survey is the same as they had at the live meetings. This is just a way that people who couldn't come to those. We had one in the afternoon and one in the day for those 2 meetings. But this is an opportunity, if you couldn't come to those, you'll see the exact same survey. And, we hear a lot about what we don't like. We don't want to be Airport Boulevard. We don't want to be this. We don't want to be that. That doesn't give us any direction to go by. We want to know what you like and what you don't like. And by this visual preference survey, by showing us what you like and don't like, these slides mean something. There's there's information contained in the slides. If you like this slide, it means something, which will help us prepare, especially for Greeno Road, prepare for the future of Greeno Road. So I would also encourage people to take a look at those. It's a quick survey. It won't take much time at all. And just kind of what's your feelings about the visual aspects and the built environment as we go forward in the city of Fairhope.
It doesn't take long at all to take the survey, and it's multiple choice questions, and your input's important. So please take the time to do it.
And I think it's kind of like voting, you know? If you vote, you have a right to complain. If not,
And this one's
And
really
this
easy.
is really very positive, and just it was fun to go through it. And
It definitely is. It gives you a lot of ideas, and I appreciated the evening one that we had on Thursday. A lot of couples came out to it, which I thought was kind of cute. They sat there and, were discussing the pictures, and it was date night, Fairhope style, I guess.
I love it.
So,
no one would ever think there could be a date night for planning.
Oh,
Now, that says
that's
a lot
right.
about where we are as a city.
That is true. That is true.
I've had a lot of nights out with planning, that's for
That
sure.
is true.
During my career.
And there was a couple here that had been here just like 2 months, so they were
Wow.
really new. And then couples that, people that have been here a long time and friends.
That's pretty neat.
came.
You're here 2
That's
months and
cool.
you're already engaged.
I mean,
That's a
that's
very
amazing.
positive sign.
Yeah, they care. I mean, they moved here because they love it, and, like all of us, we care. So I have a bunch of things to run through. I'll try to go quickly, but a lot has happened since our last council meeting, and now, one is, we talked a little bit about this National Park Service process. There's our formal letter of acceptance from the Department of Interior. So we're going to launch in January a connectivity process. It's to create a connectivity comprehensive plan for trails and recreational facilities and parks. So the Park Service will come down in January. There'll be a steering committee as part of that, and it'll take about a year to finish it, but it will coincide. They were excited about the fact that it will coincide with our Restore funded comprehensive planning process, so it will dovetail into that nicely. All right, trick or treat. That
Can I ask you a question about that? So
Yeah,
they're looking
going
at
back.
connectivity of what?
This is for multimodal trails, walking trails, biking, all of that, pedestrian
parks.
access to current parks, current
Okay.
recreational facilities, and future sites, potential future sites for rec facility expansions.
Will there be any
park
analysis of
expansion.
walkability?
Yes, that
Okay.
will be a part of it. And, MPO, we've talked about this. They've done some of this assessment, but, they can't do the level of detail that we need as a city. So this will be a deep dive. And I know that we adopted complete streets, but we've been talking to the Bike Ped Committee about the fact that the city adopted complete streets, but really never adopted a policy around complete streets. So
And a
part of-
policy basically contains criteria.
Correct.
And those kind of things.
And how to implement it.
Right.
And where, and this will help with that too. So, and Bike Ped's real excited about it as well.
Thank you.
Thanks. So, trick or treat happened, and I know we're already in November, but I just wanted to tell you.
I'm ready for Thanksgiving.
I know. So downtown trick or treat, but a reason I put a slide in, and here's some cute photos, is because it was the most well-attended trick or treat ever. Fantasy Island Toys gave out over 2,000 pieces of candy. They started giving away catalogs after that because they just had
sorry,
nothing
but-
else to give.
Ask Santa. Christmas is next.
Right. And so,
That's funny.
and that was true across the board. I talked to a lot of merchants, and I was out there that day, and it was, I mean, I have a lot of adorable pictures, but we'll just give you those. Now, fast forward, Veterans Day Parade also happened. We had an awesome Santa.
I know, that was
Um,
really, really good Santa, and I love his outfit.
Mayor, I did see you riding in the parade. I did not get I was waving, and then next thing you know, you were gone, and I didn't get a picture. But it
Being
was
up front, there's no stops.
right. There were
Have that
y'all.
consistent.
Y'all were going, but there is our Veteran of the Year, Frank Connell. So, and he's being driven by Jason Gandy, who's a volunteer firefighter. It was a beautiful, beautiful day, and the merchants downtown was packed, and the shops did really well in terms of numbers of people, so it was great. Here are a couple more photos. Then we also had the film festival that just wrapped. And again, streets were really crowded. The weather, it was pretty good for most of it. It got a little rough on the parts of the weekend. But here's some photos from what happened there. And I've talked with Mary, the executive director, and she was very, very happy with the outcome. Their donations are up. Their attendance is up. The number of venues is up, and she has all kinds of ideas for next year already. So I said,
Fantastic.
we will sit down and meet as soon as you catch your breath, although I think she's caught her breath and she's ready. Okay, I know that some people at the table are about to roll their eyes. Go ahead. We did have goat yoga, and I'm only putting the slide in there.
I love it, because I mean, I've seen the videos online, and it's really,
It's
really
popular. It's very so End of the Road Farm and Soulshine Yoga, we're going to present goat yoga, and we had so many people excited to come, and then it rained. And what happens, apparently, I did not know this, but the goats, even before it rains, they really are not happy creatures. So the farmer did not want to bring the goats out, and people have an unpleasant experience. So we will reschedule the goat yoga. It will happen when the weather cooperates.
I take it
But-
you're coming.
Yes, I am intrigued.
Yes, Richard will be there in his, you don't have to wear yoga pants. You can wear whatever you want, just in case.
I'm glad that mine's in the dry country.
Oh, okay. And a follow-up to Dale's great presentation on recycling on November 15th, which is Thursday. You can bring all your electronics. We'll have a commercial shredder. We do it once a year. So from 10 to 2 p.m., bring old computers, TVs, to keep them out of our landfills. You can also bring old files, so everyone that may or may not be watching, you can start going through your stuff now and get ready for Thursday. Bring it on over, and we'll shred it for you. Yes, that's important to the Public Works building. So
Was it at the Con Street building last year?
Dale,
He's gone.
we will. Hold on. No, I think it's still at Public Works.
It
But
was at
I
the
will
Con Street
check.
last year.
I will check.
What was it, kind of like?
It was? Do you
Yeah,
think we'll
I
have
don't
it?
know stuff there.
We'll make sure and post it on Facebook again, and we can share it on Everbridge too. That's a little detail.
Wish we could blow that up some, but
I know.
it's adorable.
In case you've missed it, we have a whole campaign called Fairhope for the holidays. This is, and it's on the Facebook page, but it lists all the events, and I really just put this in here so you can see how much we have going on. And I'm about to scroll through them. We have got, coming up on Sunday the 18th, anyone that purchases gifts downtown will wrap them free from 1 to 5 p.m. And there's the wrapping. I hope everybody can see that. It integrates, again, that campaign. I went backwards. Lighting of the trees is on this coming Thursday. And we'll post this again, but here are the street closures. That will happen that day. The streets will shut down. Parts of the streets start closing at 1, and then 2, and then 5. By 5, everything's closed. Good day to stay home from work. Christmas on the Coast, so Coastal Alabama Community College on live at 5, so Friday, November 16th, this Friday from 6 to 8. They're going to have Santa Claus and inflatables, and it says camel rides. I didn't write it, they
So
gave me the
no goats.
information.
Is that camel
This
yoga
time.
too?
No, we'll do camel
Camel
yoga.
yoga.
You have to balance on the hump.
I do
as
want
you-
to make this mention just for our downtown merchants, and we are reaching out to them about having events on First Friday Art Walk, because that does take away from a very established, long-term, much-attended event that people look forward to, and there's no reason why we can't have lots of great events we don't need to compete.
That's right. So something happened where it landed on the same day, and we're
We just
reaching out.
want to make sure that doesn't happen again, yeah.
Movie in the Street, November 17th. I mean, you can't be bored in Fairhope. Starting at 6:30 p.m., we have the Polar Express. So that's another exciting thing to come do. And then we have Plaid Friday. Mayor, I think this was your concept,
this was
wasn't
not-
it?
This is actually, a bookstore started it, and then when it was shared with other bookstores, we tried to make sure that Fairhope was included, and this was many years ago. Do you have the quote by chance on that? If not, I can.
No,
look
Plaid
it up, but
Friday,
it's-
I've
but
got-
Why it's called Plaid Friday, because it really is a great.
I knew you knew
well,
the
you go-
history
you
to
go
it. I'll
through
keep.
And I'll pull it up. real
Yeah,
quick.
so in a small Saturday, so it's Friday, November 23rd through Sunday, November 25th. There's all sorts of things going on, and one of the cool things, if you can see, you collect stamps from every merchant that you visit, and in return, you get some sort of surprise. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's actually a discount. So then we lead into our Christmas parade, and that will happen on the 7th. Let me get to that one. Oh, sorry, 1st, photos with
I like
Santa.
that.
December 1st and 8th, we'll have photos in front of the museum with Santa on those Saturdays.
Okay, I found it.
Okay, what is?
This is Plaid Friday. The name Plaid Friday was conceived from the idea of weaving the individual threads of small businesses together to create a strong fabric that celebrates the diversity and creativity of independent businesses. Plaid Friday is the relaxing and enjoyable alternative to the big box store Black Friday and is designated to promote both local and independently owned businesses during the holidays. So it
That's
really is
great.
a great idea.
So shop local. And I put this in between just because you have the Santa, it was so popular last year, we had to get actually a third day. And Santa will sit out there, it says it ends at noon. Sometimes he stays longer, depending on how long the line is. Last year, we had to get him out another day. He was very generous to come down from the North Pole again for that. And then the parade is on the 7th, which is Friday. So Friday, December 7th. And then the last thing is just our whole vintage theme for the holidays. You'll see pole banners out that will say Fair Ho Ho Hope, Shop Fairhope. It'll be used on pens. You'll see it everywhere. So I think it's a great little campaign for shopping local and come into Fairhope, visit Fairhope for the holidays.
Beautiful.
So that's
Great.
everything. Not much happening.
Very
No,
quiet
you know,
season.
Is there anything else we can add? 'Cause I mean, there's holes.
There must be an hour somewhere that's empty.
Okay. Well, these were great updates, and it's about a quarter till when the work session starts, so please join us shortly, and thank you all so much.
Thank you, Mayor.